From up 3 to comeback cats, the Florida Panthers find a way to win in Philly and get 3 out of 4 points in Pennsylvania.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Friday, December 6th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at Monoman12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at @LO_FLA Panthers and on Blue Sky at LOFLA Panthers. No underscore there. And shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the Panthers went up by as much as 2 at the start, chased Ivan Fedotov, and even got one early in the second period on the power play. But the game over? The game was over, right? Wrong. The Panthers gave up 2 in a matter of 2 minutes, and after a 6-goal second period with the two teams combined, we had a little bit of a hockey game. And with the Philadelphia Flyers scoring a third of the way through the third period, the Panthers had to chase the game, and they found a way with scoring 3 goals in a span of 5 minutes and 6 seconds, including Sam Reinhart's game winner and Matthew Tkachuk's empty netter on the power play. And Matthew Tkachuk stays hot as he now has 9 points in the last 2 games. And here to break down this 7-5 comeback win for the Florida Panthers over the Philadelphia Flyers after leading by as much as 3 goals. It is a Friday, which means it's Fairbanks Friday. Nich Fairbanks is back, and Nick, what a hockey game last night for the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, it's almost as if, Pennsylvania was like Bizarro World or the Twilight Zone for the Panthers this week. You outplay the Pittsburgh Penguins earlier this week, and then you end up, having to come back and then lose in overtime. And now this one, the exact almost the same, where you're dominating, but you're getting the results, and then you just take your foot off the gas, and then look what happens. A former Panther and Owen Tippett kind of takes it to you. So I will say I'm just happy with the 2 points at least, but maybe just burn the tape on this one.
Yeah, burn the tape. This is not one that you want to really reflect too much when it comes to just being at your best when it comes to this team. But like I said, they chased Ivan Fedotov after 20 minutes. They got 18 hits in the first period. I mean, and the 2 goals that they scored in the first period, those were their only 5-on-5 goals in the entire game, where Evan Rodriguez gets on the forecheck after the puck clears at the end of the shift for the line that was on the ice for the Philadelphia Flyers. And then Jesper Boquist gets a puck separating hit right before Nico Mikkola gets his second goal of the season. But I mean, maybe the Panthers tired themselves out with those 18 hits, chased Ivan Fedotov. Kolosov comes in. The Panthers even had a power play goal taken off the board due to Matthew Tkachuk's skate being in the crease and not allowing Kolosov to reach his glove back, even though I didn't think he was making the save anyway. But then the Panthers come out score on that same power play due to a beautiful chef kiss assist by Sam Reinhart on a spinorama backhand to Alexander Barkov. And that goal by Alexander Barkov, if he lifted his left leg a little bit, that could have looked very identical to that goal in Game 2 against the Carolina Hurricanes back in the Eastern Conference Final just a few years ago there. But different stretches where the Panthers surrendered 2 goals in a matter of 2 minutes and 18 seconds. And really it came to poor breakouts, Knight mishandling the puck for him that resulted in the Sealer goal. And then there was one feed where Michkov tried to centering feed into the paint, bounces off the skate of Joel Farabee, and then Tyson Forster scores on that one. Just a little bit of a strange bounce. But even the Panthers were starting to look like a little bit of a panic. Even when they were up 3, they almost scored into their own net on a delayed penalty. After Knight had that breakout from his trapezoid, after it was 3-2, he was trying to handle the puck again and just losing his edge there. So it looked like the Panthers were mentally, for them, maybe the game was going too fast even after 3-0 for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think after 3-0 against a team that you've kind of struggled with the last couple of years, it's almost as if, you had this aha moment, like, hey, finally we broke through. And I think that's when they let their foot off the gas. They kind of just started getting cute and tried to play a little bit, too fancy. Um, Knight was playing with the puck a little bit too much or trying to control it. And, I'm not going to say the ice was in best condition because there was a lot of players that were actually falling last night. I mean, you saw it on one of the almost empty net goals by Tkachuk, that their defenseman actually fell.
Yeah,
It
right
just
before he tripped
straight up
him.
fell. Yeah, just straight up fell. So, I just think with the changes that Philadelphia made, they took the biggest punch from Florida. Tortorella goes into the intermission, basically probably rips into the team and changes goalie. They let in a power play goal, and then that's when they're like, okay, we're set in. Now we can really try to, play our game. And I felt like Florida's mistakes in the back end really cost them. I know the goal by Sealer was definitely a pass right from Losterainen, who was just trying to get Lundell to clear it out. But you got to be smarter than that. You can't always go for that play.
Yeah, but even before Luosterainen tried that center in their own end, Knight's pass to Nate Schmidt kind of had him bobbling the puck a little bit right before, so it was like a trickle down effect for everything right before that one for them, and then for the Panthers, then just poor breakouts. Aaron Ekblad got one where he was trying to flip it, Mitchkov intercept
Mm-hmm.
tip it, intercepts it, and then it goes to Mitchkov. You have two guys drawing to Mitchkov there, and then maybe you want to see Spencer Knight cheat a little bit right before Owen Tippett gets that first one, and then Nico Mikkola tried flipping it out of his own zone, and then and to think that the Panthers were close to taking a 2-goal lead on a no-sec breakaway, and then Matvei Mitchkov chips it up the ice, and then Owen Tippett on that breakaway, Knight makes the initial save, and then Tippett on the follow through. And the funny thing about that is Sweetness, the Panthers' old goal song, played right before those 2 goals. So crazy little coincidence there. But the Panthers also stopped creating off finishing checks as well too. We spoke about the hits, how they went down through the last 2 periods, but I mean, and for the Panthers, for them, 6 goals between the 2 teams in the second period, and it took a while for the Panthers to get their first shot of the third period. It took 7 minutes to get their first shot of the game, and even before the 2 goals by Owen Tippett there, the Panthers went on a stretch where they were controlling play. They didn't allow a shot by the Philadelphia Flyers in a 5-minute span. So it was just you never could predict when momentum swings were going to hit, and it happened for both teams with the 2 Tippett goals, and then after Garnet Hathaway scored to make it 5-4 a third of the way into the third period. But wow, it was just unpredictable, these swings for both teams.
They were, and I mean, it seemed like a preseason or just like a street pickup game where they just started trading chances, and that's not what Florida wants to do. I will say this: I was very impressed with Mitchkov, him being a
Oh
rookie.
yeah.
The second goal, I think, or the first goal that they scored, he literally this was planned by him. He just threw it out in front, was hoping to get a rebound and everything. So at least getting pucks to the net. And then I think the biggest thing that Florida kind of backed off from is that their defensemen were pinching. They were caught a couple times making some bad pinches, so it did lead to odd man rushes. So I think that combined with the turnovers caused them to kind of back off a little bit and have to play more of a defensive structure. But unfortunately, when you back off your game plan, that's when you can make more mistakes. And Philadelphia definitely turned it on them.
Yeah, and then Paul Maurice, after the under 14 timeout, switched his D pairs, which we're still seeing a little bit of an experimentation there. Matt Lichtenstadter of Why Hockey and Pucks and Palms emphasized something that he talked about last week when he visited on the show about just how the Panthers have top three defensemen, but the rest are bottom pair guys that they're consistently going to be shuffling in and out. Bokus was on the same pair as Mikkola. Nate Schmidt went down with Kulikov. And then for the Panthers, I mean, getting that big 4-on-4 goal by Gustav Forsling, which we'll talk about the penalties later in the show. But then getting that goal off of winning the draw, getting it back high, and then getting through a screen from Travis Sanheim through, and then after that for them, Sam Reinhart coming big with a little bit of a scramble, and then getting that puck all the way to Sam Reinhart for his league leading 19th. Well, Leon Draisaitl scored twice last night, so now it's a two-way tie for the lead. And then Matthew Tkachuk capping off with that empty net power play goal for the Panthers to bring it to a 7-5 win. The Panthers get 4 power play goals out of 5, which Paul Maurice says you don't want to win games that way. The point streak continues for Tkachuk. Point streak continues for Barkov. And hey, the Carter Verhaeghe was denied on a power play goal earlier, but he found a way to score on the man advantage for him there. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss more of our 3 stars of the game and the moment where we thought the game was won. We're going to discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And get ready to take on the NFL action with America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to this Friday, December 6th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day, where the Florida Panthers defeat the Philadelphia Flyers by a final score of 7-5, where they get the 3 points once again in their trip in Pennsylvania, and a game where you are just scratching your head a little bit for this one for the Panthers on just being too comfortable with a 3-0 lead. And then having to find a way to come back in this one. So let's get to our 3 stars of the game for the Panthers, Nick. And number 3, I have Sam Reinhart, the GWG, which is crazy. Of his 19 goals, the broadcast said that's the only game-winning goal that he's had this season for him. Number 2 is Gustav Forsling, a very clutch goal on the 4-on-4. And shortly after that, Nick, he stopped a 3-on-1 for the Flyers coming back the other way shortly after the Panthers tied that game, and also stood up for his teammate Sam Bennett after the cross check by Joel Farabee to eventually create that opportunity for the Florida Panthers after. And also we saw Gustav Forsling stand up for Nick Cousins after that Jason Zucker hit last season in Philadelphia that had concussed him there. So Gustav Forsling is a star for more than just those 2 plays that I had mentioned for that. And then number 1, you have to go with Matthew Tkachuk. 5-point game in this one, 9 in the last 2. But crazy to think, after the Panthers took their initial lead, that second line for the Panthers was having a hard time creating chances. But hey, when it mattered most, Matthew Tkachuk found a way to create plays for his team. So 1 goal, 4 assists on the night for Matthew Tkachuk there. So your 3 stars for the evening, my friend.
I'm number 3. I'm going to have to go with Sam Reinhart. Him and Barkov were just ridiculous last night, not only with the passing, but just having the zone time and controlling play. I think that was actually one of the benefits into why they won. They're able to, have just those zone entries and then keep the puck for about a minute or 2, which is exhausting as a defending team. Second star, I will go with Matthew Tkachuk, who's been on a heater the last couple games. Like I said last week, I just wonder, with the procedure he had, and if he was fully healthy all season, maybe he is now. Now he's starting to actually show who he is again and have that identity where he's just, controlling the puck. He's not letting anybody take it, and he's throwing hits and actually scoring now. And then number 1, I am going to have to give it to Bobby Orsling, that we call him, or Gustav Forsling. Fantastic game. I felt that, Aaron Ekblad has been playing well for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and
not a good game for him last night.
Not a good game at all. And I felt that, Forsling did cover for him very well and was rewarded with that game tying goal. And, I know it wasn't considered a fight, but you know what, I might just give it to him. So I'm going to have to give him the Gordie Howe, trophy for that one. So I have to say, if it wasn't for him last night, I think it would have been a completely different outcome.
Yeah, and Gustav Forsling making up for some of the bad play from his line mate there. He Ekblad committed a penalty after uh, that gate went into for a goal, and then right before the power play goal by the Philadelphia Flyers that they scored a third of the way, he was the one who tripped up the Garnet Hathaway there right before on as the Panthers were trying to break out of their own, well, as the Philadelphia Flyers were getting in on their forecheck on in the offensive zone, excuse me, for them. And then we saw after he gave up that breakaway, that turnover, excuse me, for the Panthers, he slammed his stick right on the crease and broke it there. So so hey, we've praised Aaron Ekblad a lot lately in the last week. So hey, it's a Ekblad giveth, Ekblad taketh sometimes when it comes to his play there. But the moment where we knew the game was won, and for this one, it was the cross check by Joel Farabee on Sam Bennett for them, and that was right before the Panthers took the lead 6-5, and the momentum was starting to shift. As we mentioned, the 3-on-1 that Gustav Forsling stopped, and really, like you mentioned, not considered a fight for him, but really the confidence level of the Panthers and knowing that they got in the opposition's head after, even though it was the Flyers initiating that, it was before the score even happened. For me, I'm just like, I think the Panthers, they're getting right back into this, and this is something that we speak about often here, is that the Paul Maurice system is hard to play for a full 60 minutes and full 82 100% of the time. And for the Panthers, a little bit of a stretch in this game where they weren't playing their style of that they are most comfortable with, and that helps them succeed. But really, when you get into to other players to muck it up with you, and you force some more guys to go into the box for them, as Forsling and Farabee both went for roughing there. I mean, that's Florida Panthers hockey right there. So I thought that was the moment where I knew the game was won, even before the Panthers took the 6-5 lead at 18:01 in the third period.
So I am gonna probably go just before that. I'm gonna go with when Gustav Forsling scored. You could feel it coming, and that Florida was applying pressure and everything, but it just seemed like Philadelphia was doing everything they could to block any kind of shots or get in the passing lanes, and they're very effective at doing that. And they've always been effective at doing it this season. So when he shot that puck, and you could tell that Philadelphia's goaltender did not see it at all, and it just went past him. I'm like, okay, they're back in this. They're going to definitely take the lead here in a few minutes, and it's just one of those back-breaking goals that, as a team, when you're coming back and you take the lead, you cannot give up one of those. I mean, he just basically just. I don't want to say floated it, but it was not a hard shot. He basically wristed it, and it went past the goaltender. So I will say this: if Bob gave that up, we would be fuming right now, and maybe a different storyline we'd be talking about. But I think that goal was the backbreaker for Philadelphia, and that was probably it for them.
Yeah, and to think that the Panthers got four goals on a power play, even though one of them was an empty netter. They did this against the third best penalty kill in the NHL. And although that goal from Gustav Forsling was a 4-on-4 goal, I mean, the Panthers, thankfully, they were able to get a whistle for the penalty that drew the 4-on-4, because when the Flyers were on the power play, they might have interfered with Anton Lundell at the start of that power play, and then ended up getting they tried it a second time. They were thinking, what can I get away with when trying to gain the zone? And they caught them the second time. So maybe a little bit of overthinking for the Philadelphia Flyers on that power play for them there, and just thinking, hey, sometimes you wonder what you can get away with, and it ended up evening things up for the 4-on-4. Because I mean, looking at the game sheet here, I'm trying to do math and right here, 16 seconds after it was 4-on-4, the Panthers tied it. So how quickly the Panthers are able to get that open ice and also get a face-off in their offensive zone to score that, and also the puck battles. I mean, we spoke about it on the Reinhart goal, the puck battle there, the puck battle off the draw. I mean, it really came down to when push came to shove, puck battles were how the Panthers won this one.
Yeah, and you saw that in the first period. They were winning every single 50-50 and puck battle along the boards, and Randy even alluded to that. Once you get to the second period, you could just see that they weren't winning all of them, or there were some bad bounces, or they're just turning it over. So I think that they cleaned it up later in the third period, which then gave them a chance. But winning that draw, and it wasn't Sam Bennett who won it. I mean, he's the one that got it back to Forsling, but think about it. A little thing like winning a faceoff is what led to that goal. So little things in this game, outside of winning puck battles and everything, is winning a faceoff led to them coming back and winning this game. So never, ever overlook the little things.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to transition to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss more about what the guys said after the game on how they're feeling overall, and maybe ask a question on the goaltending situation for the Florida Panthers right before they welcome in the San Jose Sharks on Saturday night to Emirates Bank Arena. We're going to discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Third and final segment here on this Friday, December 6th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Friday, a Fairbanks Friday edition of the show. So, Nick, the Panthers have 15 goals in their last 5 third periods, going back to last Wednesday against the Toronto Maple Leafs there for the Panthers. And hey, 4-0-1 in this last stretch for the Panthers, and only a 1-game difference between the Panthers record last year and this year. So kind of in a way on track and on the same pace. Although I'm not expecting 110 points for the Panthers. So the guys in the locker room after the game, Erod, Verhaeghe, and Tkachuk spoke about how it's not a formula to winning for them. Just paraphrasing there. Paul Maurice spoke about them getting what they deserved in the second period, as you mentioned in the segment number two with what Randy Moeller said about just not winning puck battles. And then this is the key for how I felt that the Panthers turned around. Now hearing Paul Maurice talk about this is a quote that he said, "Sometimes you need to shut up and not even go into the room." And he's referring to the second period. And you can't do this with every NHL team. We have that luxury with the Florida Panthers being the team that they are, championship contender. The fact that you don't need the coach to go in there and be angry at the guys because they feel already that themselves after that 6-goal second period with both teams combined. So I'm when it comes to Paul Maurice's approach and going into the locker room, and also something that he spoke about last week is about something that's not coming back for this team. And he didn't really say anything specifics of that, but you think about the motivation to win the cup when you haven't won. That's not there. The guys who bring that fire into the locker room that have been part of the mix for maybe 3 or 4 years, they're gone. So it's a little bit of a difference for this Florida Panthers team coming into this type of year. And it's just trying to continue on the play for them, and trying to still come in night in and night out, and not just take the regular season games off. Although we will see that this isn't going to be something new when it does come for the Florida Panthers. So, but I really do like Paul Maurice's approach here for what he spoke about after the second period.
Yeah, and I think some coaches do this where the disappointment or the play on the ice is not up to expectation, and the players know it. The players themselves are taking accountability, and the coach doesn't really need to say anything. They understand of what's going on and what needs to be done. So listen, let them work it out. The coaches have put them in good positions to either defend, score goals, or at least take control of the game. It's up to the players on the ice to take control and actually do that. And they definitely got away from that in the second period. So, Paul will pull the levers that he needs to. he did it a few games ago where he was kind of yelling at the team and they came out and they played much better. But at the same time, if you pull that lever too much, then that's when you start losing the locker room. Nobody starts listening. There's no accountability at all. So good on him for at least recognizing that, you know what, this is on the players. They need to figure it out themselves.
Yeah, and most times, most situations, if you allow the players to just leave the locker room, that's when it can turn bad. But for let's not forget that this was already a contending team before he got here. So even in his interviews, talking about how much the group loves each other and loves to be around each other and how much leadership there was, he just has to go and just be the teacher there and knowing when to take a step back there. All right. So this next topic I want to discuss with you is Spencer Knight. So 5 goals in the last in each of the last 2 games, excuse me, for him. Uh, I wouldn't say all of them are his fault per se. For him, the one where the first Owen typical, like I said, you want to maybe cheat a little bit there for that one, where 2 guys are on Matvei Michkov there for him, but because Bob is slated to come back on Saturday due to the birth of his child, and Spencer Knight is still waivers exempt, you can expect Mackie Samoskevich to be part of the mix coming back, and the salary cap is the reason why Mackey's not with the team currently, because of needing the backup goaltender in Chris Drieger. But would part of me was thinking, if not necessarily Spencer Knight plays a game in Charlotte, if he were to be sent down, but maybe I was thinking if this could be a situation where the Panthers can set him down as far as like a salary cap move for him, and to just get a little bit of a mental reset. They win one of the games with him giving up 5 in each, but then even previously, let's give him credit where credit is due. Even in the losses to Washington and Chicago, he was the least of the Panthers' issues. So now in this little stretch for the Panthers, do you think it serves him any good even to be sent down, even if he doesn't play a single game for the Checkers? How are you seeing this?
This is a very tough and what I'll say intricate decision if Florida's even considering it. Number one, nobody's going to feel worse than Knight is about the last 2 games giving up 5 goals each. It weighs on a goaltender and it can really affect their confidence. Now, let's say Florida does send him down. What does that say that the team views him? Is it, that he does need a reset? Well, why would he need a reset down there when he's playing right now with the Florida Panthers and get the coaching, get the training and the practices in now?
Fair enough.
The other part of it is, his history, unfortunately, going, into the player assistance program where, he just wanted to, get better himself.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to know the ins and outs of that, which is, a good thing, but you have to wonder what that would do to his psyche. Like, hey, I just had 2 games where not all the goals are my fault, but I'm not living up to my expectation or what, the fans expected me as well. So what am I to do? Like, where am I, in this whole thing? And the other part of this is, let's say Bob comes back, and I'm going to knock on some wood right now because I don't want this to happen because Florida would be in trouble. What if he gets injured? And then you have to rely on Chris Drieger, who the Panthers have not had a game from him in the last couple of years because he went to Seattle. So you don't know what you have in him, especially coming off of an injury that he had. So it's learning to balance how Knight is going to react to a possible move like that, if it's best for his development, or if it's the best for his development to stay up with the Panthers and just work through it instead of just saying, hey, we're going to send you down because you're not cutting it. I think they need to work through it. And then also understanding what could happen in the future if, Bob is not available.
Yeah. And maybe I'm thinking this more of because it's consecutive games with 5, but there's the amount of breakaway opportunities doesn't help with that. So the number might be a little deceiving when it comes to the actual number given up for him. But I also think about where the first time where he gave up 5, you're thinking, okay, starting the next one, Bob's not around. But thinking about this situation, if Bob were to come back, and I mean, Chris Trigger's not having the best season in Charlotte neither. So what can we expect on the NHL level if that were the case? So and also there's going to be conversation. That the thing is, Spencer Knight's just not going to go into the locker room, take his pads off, and then not talk to a single coach. He's going to have a conversation with Robbie Tallis. They're going to talk with Roberto Longo. They're going to talk everything with the goalie excellence department, and just like, hey, this is how you can improve here and there. In his positioning, squaring up to the shooter and everything, how to read passes so that you can get your lateral movement correct here on this on said play. So it could be beneficial for Spencer Knight to still be around for the Panthers. So just posing that question just to kind of see where if that were a possibility for him, not just for the paper dragons action part, but I still think that the Panthers have a whole bunch of confidence because we've seen the stretches for Spencer Knight on just how he's able to just keep the Panthers in games for them. It's going to be a polarizing topic because first rounder extension gone for a bit, coming back, and then the up and down play. So I understand that it's going to be polarizing no matter how we phrase things with Spencer Knight here for him. But go ahead.
So I was going to say, I see him this season as kind of like that starting pitcher who's been very good in his starts. He's given his team chances to win, but his team hasn't provided any kind of run support or goals for him. So when he was in that stretch where he was giving up 2 goals or less in each game, I think he maybe only won 1 of them. And now he's giving up 5 goals a game, and he got 3 out of 4 points. So again, it's learning that balance right there. So you can't really blame him 100%, but at the same time, like when he's not to expectation, that's when the alarm bells start going off, and that's when people really start to take notice.
Which is why goalie wins is not a stat, ladies and gentlemen. So all right, the Panthers now shift to Saturday night, where they welcome in Macklin Celebrini and the San Jose Sharks to Amerant Bank Arena. Really excited about this matchup for the Florida Panthers against the Sharks. 5-4-1 in their last 10, and the Sharks are coming off a rough game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, where Tampa scored 4 goals in 10 minutes, 2 of them by Brandon Hagel. Macklin Celebrini got first star of the week and rookie of the month. William Eklund might have a little fire under him after possibly being snubbed from Team Sweden on the Four Nations. And the San Jose Sharks have a great prospect in Will Smith there. So it's a really fun team that the Panthers are welcoming into Amerant Bank Arena. And I think this is a big 2 points for the Panthers here, because you can never predict how the Panthers are going to go out west and perform there, which is hard to play in different time zones. So I think this is, and with the weird schedule of coming home, playing on the road, and then coming back home and then playing on the road again coming up in December, big 2 points that the Panthers will have on the line coming into Saturday night at 6 p.m. from Sunrise.
Definitely, and Celebrini has been everything he's marketed to be right now. You don't win Rookie of the Month, for not, doing anything, per se. I know that's a bad example, but, he's been lighting up the score sheet. He's, led the Sharks into probably their best stretch in, a little bit. They have those younger players there, like you said, like Eklund and Smith. But I think what Florida has to try and contain is that this team is young, and that they really they're trying to play a structured game, but literally they have probably nothing to play for this season. So it's more or less like they have nothing to lose. So why not try some different things or try to figure out what they are going to be going into the future? So I don't want to say trap game. I don't like saying that unless I really do feel that, but I will say that San Jose could possibly give Florida some fits.
Yeah, and Celebrini, since coming back from injury, he is 13 points in 16 games for him. So he's definitely performed to expectation. I mean, when he was scouted, he was more of seeing that his comparison was Jonathan Toews as far as his player comp for him. And right now he's fitting the bill so far in his rookie season. So very excited to actually see him in a game against the Florida Panthers than just to see how when he sees the Stanley Cup champions on the other side, how he if he could live up to the billing of his draft stock. So, Nick, I want to thank you so much once again for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast as the Panthers win 7-5 on the road in Philadelphia. Tell everybody where they can follow you online.
Armando, thanks for having me on. And yeah, thanks for having me break it down, this unique game that Florida had. But everybody, you guys can follow me on X at Prudential0. And maybe we'll have some late night, post games next week. What do you think?
Yeah, possible. Yeah, chances are, because maybe the Panthers happen to be having some games really late. Get your coffee ready, ladies and gentlemen. So get ready. So, Nick, thank you so much, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL Network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Nich Fairbanks, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.